It's you, multigrain Cheerios.
Welcome back. My guest is here to talk about Indy Christian Media. Joining me today is Neil Cox of ICM. Welcome to Religion in the News.
Oh, glad to do it. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, Indy Christian Media, this is a multifaceted ministry.
Yep.
It's primarily online,
Right.
but the main purpose of it is to kind of unite the Indianapolis Christian media community. Tell us a little bit about your vision and how you got started with ICM.
Okay. Well, in 1999, I had not been in Indianapolis very long, and I was looking for my next job, and you know the number one rule of job hunting is network, 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 and
Yes.
I thought, well, certainly I can go online and find this Christian community already, tightly networked. And as I went online, I just really couldn't find that in 1999, so I started indychristian.com, and now it's kind of become a social network called indychristianmedia.com. And again, our end of the Great Commission here in the city really is the communication end of it. We want to build a citywide tapestry of communicators. So that's our goal.
Now, in indychristianmedia.com, when we say media, explain that to our viewers.
Oh, okay. But, when we talk about media, certainly traditionally people have thought of it like this, with all the expensive things and the high quality media. And now we've come down more to this, where everybody is carrying media tool in their pocket. So the question is, what's the motivation of the heart? You love the Lord Jesus like we do, and if you do, you can be part of the communication network to spread that good news.
And that was going to actually be my next question. For those who want to be a part of this, to get involved with what you're doing, what type of criteria would they have to have?
Well, if you went to indychristianmedia.com, a person would see what it would take, but largely it's anybody who would declare Jesus is Lord. Okay, and that they want to help communicate, and we work better together than separately.
Absolutely.
So largely, it's about the heart first, and then about the tools.
Now, within Indy Christian Media, I know because I've been on the site myself. You have people who write and record, produce films. You have many people who are ministry leaders that just need to communicate that.
Right.
It's just a multifaceted ministry, and I love what you're doing. How do you find those, and how do you keep in touch with all of this? It's just amazing to me how well connected you are.
Well, obviously it's not about me, it really is about my friends. So, I believe that in this day and time, God's given us new tools to do that connecting process. So once upon a time, we were trying to create some software and a website that would help connect friends and the like. And we had like 300 of our driven Christians in the racing capital of the world online. And then we saw Facebook, for instance, and we said, quick, stop what we're doing. Let's use the tools of the day to do that. So the way we connect best is just kind of be out there, and they'll find us. So
now, you had mentioned Facebook, and I don't want to call ICM the Facebook of Christian media, but it's kind of on that lines. But you also use other social networks yourself to get your message across. Talk to us about that.
Yes, absolutely. This is not about a website. Nowadays, it's about a web strategy. And our strategy is the same one Jesus told us to do from the beginning: defer to one another, honor one another more highly than yourselves. So now with social media, you can be all over in many different websites. Yes, indychristianmedia.com might be the starting point for some to at least get familiar with the process. Facebook is great. You wouldn't want to overlook it. The other one I'd really like to talk about a little more today would be about Twitter and why that's important to the Christian community.
Sure. Let's talk about Twitter.
Well, one of the reasons Twitter has become so popular so quickly is because it's really heavily geared to this size communication. We have to be concise. Here on the show, you've only got so many minutes. With Twitter, it's kind of the same way. You got 140 characters to quickly, get your message out. And of course, you can tweet more than one, but it's as easy as texting. So if a person can text, they certainly could be on Twitter as well. And again, it's that great way to connect and to communicate, and it can just be in a few minutes a day.
Absolutely. A lot of companies, ministries, even television stations, people are jumping on kind of the Facebook/Twitter bandwagon. Is there one, in your opinion, that's a little easier to use than the other? I know you had mentioned Twitter, not that we're putting one above the other, but what's...
Well, I would believe you really need to be on Facebook as a profile kind of a thing.
Okay.
I describe Facebook as a shotgun approach, whereas Twitter's more like a laser-guided, rifle sort of a system. So it's really cut through. So here, let's just say of all the folks who are believers who are on Twitter, for instance, it's real easy to find them and to cross-connect. One example might be, of course, I'm very much about connecting driven Christians in the racing capital of the world. This is our domain. Let's connect the church here. And I would say that one easy way would be, if I simply type in my Twitter, the tweet for the day, if I use the term # Indy prayer, other people not only are going to see that, but it's clickable. And when they click it, then they'll see everybody who's very recently created a tweet on the topic of Indy prayer. So if you had a prayer request, or if you wanted to go online and pray for folks around the city who have prayer requests, you can find that sort of thing on Twitter.
Wow, I didn't realize Twitter was that advanced. I guess I better step up my game, Neil.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So now, what type of events do you have coming up? Or I know you're involved with many events throughout the city just because of the nature of what you do. What are some of the events we should be looking out for coming up here in Indy?
And of course, they're not the events that I'm doing, but that I'm simply pointing to. So for instance, an easy way for people to know those would be like go to Twitter. It'd be twitter.com/Indy Christian. That's me. So there's Indy Christian, but then I'll be often pointing to a site called twitter.com/Indy Timeline.
Okay.
And you're going to find that is an events calendar, and it's so concise, you can read it right off your phone. Some events coming up, certainly importantly would be Faith, Hope, and Love Week coming up. We wouldn't want to miss that.
Yes.
In September, we're going to have Emergency Readiness Month. So I think you had Mike Bowler on your show a few weeks ago, and it's very much about helping Christians get ready as opportunities to share the gospel and share compassion with your neighbor, just like Jesus told us to.
Sure.
Another event you absolutely wouldn't want to miss will be in October when CCDA, the national convention, comes here to Indianapolis.
Yes,
and
right here
we're
in our
really
backyard.
looking forward to that, having Dr. John Perkins with us and many others who are changing their cities across the country.
This is exciting. Well, I want to make sure we put up your contact information. If you could just share that with us, your website, how they can text and get a hold of you.
Again, it's indychristianmedia.com. And importantly, if you wanted to go to Twitter, you can go to twitter.com/IndyChristian, or you could find me on Facebook, friend me, facebook.com/Indy Christian, or just Google Indy Christian. You'll be there.
So we'll be there. Well, Neil, thank you for being our guest today on Religion in the News. We'll continue to follow your progress as you follow ours, and hopefully we can pull this thing together.
All right. Well, praise God. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Jeff, now to you.
Thanks, Tierra. Coming up next, we'll learn about an upcoming Christian car show right after this break.